Hello again. You know, I did a couple of videos and I talked about how the administration is going after veterans that are returning from combat, especially those that might have been wounded or had been wounded. And, you know, one of the reasons is that most military personnel consider them to be conservatives. And in the liberals' eyes, being a conservative is being the enemy. And knowing that the enemy is skillful in the art of war because the administration or the government trained them on how to be skillful, the obvious ones that you want to disarm first are those individuals, which is exactly what this administration is doing. You know, the Veterans Affairs, as I said in the previous video, and as I read on, I believe it was Western Center Journalism, or it could have been World Net Daily, was that they all received, a lot of them received letters, and they had 30 days to respond. And if they didn't respond within 30 days, well, then guess what? You know, they're SOL. And for them to respond, they would have to do it in person at their expense. So obviously, a lot of them won't respond because they can't afford to respond. But those that don't respond will have to comply. And by complying, they'll not be able to own weapons, they'll not be able to own ammunition, and if they do either one of those, they could be sent to prison for a period of time, and or fined, or both. Now, can you imagine how a veteran that got wounded feels when the government or the country that he went to defend has turned against him? I'm not laughing. I'm just laughing how ironic this whole thing is. See, this is what happens when you put a bozo in as commander-in-chief. This guy shouldn't be allowed to cut the grass at the White House, you know? And he wouldn't be allowed because he doesn't have qualifications. He doesn't have proper identification. You know, I've said this before in a couple of, well, quite a few videos. The biggest mistake that this country made is allowing someone like him to assume the office of the presidency. Anyone in future, but there will be no future, but let's assume that we had a future, which I don't believe we have, but anyone that's considered for a position as high as the office of the presidency or the vice president should have to undergo the highest level of security clearance. If they would have done that to this bozo, he never would have been there. And the reason that is once they're in office, they have the highest level of security. Scary, isn't it? When you consider how tight he is with the Muslim Brotherhood folks. Yeah. I actually thought that Operation Fast and Furious was going to derail him. I was making bets with guys at the gym on that. And it would have if it wouldn't have been for Obama coming in and doing what he did when he exerted executive privilege to protect both himself and Eric Holder. Yet, what I don't understand is how come Congress didn't say you can't do that, because he can't do that. How come no one took a look at that video that was done by the Assistant Attorney General on March the 24th, 2009, David Ogden, when he outlined the entire program? I mean, this is really insane. Nobody has done anything to protect the American people, nor have they done anything to protect the military veterans. But can you imagine how they must feel, having lost a limb, having been wounded? Can you imagine how those people at Fort Hood that were shot, and the families of those that were killed, when the administration calls what that crazy Major Nadal Hassan did is workplace violence, when he's screaming Allah Akbar as he's unloading his handgun? Yeah, it's beyond being able to be salvaged. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. How about you?